Hello, I am Kirstie. I've been keeping a bullet journal for quite a few years now. I think I started back in 2017, and I've been keeping a diary for years and years and years before that. So because I'm setting up my journal, my bullet journal, every month and very regularly, I figured, why not share it with the internet? Because that's been going on for a while and people are going crazy over bullet journals. And I have been too. So there you go. That's why I'm here. While you watch me unpack this beautiful journal from Notebook Therapy that I intend to use for the first half of 2022, I want to apologize for this very unprofessional filming setup. You can see my tripod, which isn't exactly ideal. The lighting isn't always perfect, so I'm just using natural lighting. I'm using my phone. I didn't have a proper tripod that I could attach my phone to when I filmed this first setup. And on top of all of this, it is already February, so I'm very sorry for posting this so very late. But there you go. I filmed it and I want to share it, so maybe it's still of use to you. So I started this journal by adding my name, which I already misspelled. I wrote Kirstie instead of Kirstie. I've changed that in the meantime, but things happen. It's filmed this way. But anyway, I'm keeping the setup very simple. I'm always trying to fit the first few pages together with the actual journal itself, so I opted for a pink setup with some flowers and cherry blossoms. My cover page is just the number 2022. I used my Tombow dual brush pen for this. I have no idea what number it was. I apologize. I will try and look it up and add it to the description. So after writing out those numbers, I just used my trusted ballpoint pen that I use for pretty much everything else and added some tiny cutesy little flowers. I think it looks pretty cute. It's very simple. I didn't want to go overboard with anything, so yeah, that's my very simple cover page for this journal. Here you can see a little close-up, so you can actually see those tiny little flowers. Next up, I'm doing my in this journal page. I think I haven't copied this, but I saw Plant-Based Bride do this similarly, sort of. She's doing this as a themes of the year. I'm always using this at the very beginning of my journal as some sort of index so that you can see what's ahead of you as soon as you open up that book. I already have a very fixed system for all of my setups, so this is really just an overview of the themes that I did. I don't need to write out every single page that I'm doing in the form of an index, but I still want to have some sort of overview of what is in that journal. And I use a themes of the year kind of spread for this purpose. Now, as I mentioned previously, I always try to keep the first few pages of my journal visually close to the actual journal that I'm using, and I added this little icon at the top that represents the cover of this notebook to show that these first pages are the introductory pages and sort of their own theme, if that makes sense. So that is why one of those boxes, the one at the very top, is just a picture of this notebook, in a sense. So I tried to keep this as close to the cover as I possibly could, so that you can actually see, oh, that's the same thing. Then I just added all of the 6 boxes for the first 6 months and added the titles for them as well. And this is a spread that always looks so cool as soon as it's filled out, because I will add miniature versions of the themes that I'm going to do. And yeah. Then I added my shiny golden watercolor to add some golden details that are nice and shiny to the little icon at the top. And then right next to that little icon, I'm doing the only part that I actually fill out in the most iconic index sort of way. So next to that icon, as you can see, I'm just writing out all of the different pages that are at the beginning of this journal. So next to the Roman numbers that I add there for the first few pages, I'm, well, stating what is there on that page. So yeah, you can see that. It's just, you know, the first page is for the title page, and then the next one is the one that I'm currently setting up. And then there's a little teaser for you, because you can see, hey, those are all the pages that I will be setting up in the rest of this video. Maha! The next spread that I did was my future log. I don't call it future log. I don't know what it is, but I don't really like the name of a future log. But it essentially is one. I just called it 2022. It's just a date overview in essence. Yeah, that's when I changed out my ruler from my pretty brass ruler to my not so pretty but very much cherished see-through granite ruler, because this way I can still see through to what I've already written and I don't have to mark where the line has to go. So even though my brass ruler is very pretty, this one is just so much easier to deal with because you can see through it. And also I purchased it when I was in London for my exchange semester back in 2018. So I always use it. It's my favorite ruler. Most of the videos that I watch, and I'm sorry for the lighting here, it got dark. It will be light in a minute again. So most of the journalists that I follow on YouTube or on Instagram complain about the fact that, you know, it's very tedious to set up a future log. And I agree. I think it is tedious, but the thing that you will hear most of the time when you watch videos for complete setups for a journal is just keep a calendar nearby. Make sure that you don't make any mistakes. Even though I did have a calendar nearby, I made a mistake, which I think you could see. For February, I added the numbers 29 and 30, which for this year, and well, for this year, the 29th doesn't exist, but for the rest of all the years, the 30th does not exist either, at all, ever. So, you know, you can make mistakes, but then you just have to find a way to fix them. I'm glad that I noticed it early enough, and then I just used my Tipp-Ex to get rid of those two numbers that were superfluous. And yeah, it's a little tedious to set up, but you know, if you listen to a podcast or music or something that you enjoy, it's not that bad after all. And I had fun setting it up in the end. It looks really nice. I'm not quite happy with the placement of the titles of the month, but it's not too bad. It still looks pretty cute. This is what it looks like from a little closer. And quite generally, as you might wonder, for all of this setup, I used English titles. I have no idea why I did that. I'm actually Austrian. I speak German, and German is my mother tongue. But since I studied English, and English is very dear to me, so many things in my journal are just a mixture of English and German all of the time. And there is no rhyme or reason to when I use English and when I use German. I did make the conscious decision to do my voiceovers in English just because it's an opportunity for me to practice it, but also, you know, a majority of people on the internet speak English. So next up, I'm setting up my monthly and weekly tasks spread. Many people call this their when did I last spread. This is just a place for me to keep track of the things that I want to get done at a specific time and, you know, on a monthly or weekly or bi-weekly basis. So whenever I get one of those tasks done, I will just add an X to them. And I've used this in the past. It works really, really well for me. And yeah, you know, this way I don't forget anything that's important every month or every week. And I know when I actually did something last. Oh, that's my hair. Ha! Hi there. So yeah, this section at the top is the section for my monthly tasks. So each column represents a specific month from January through to June. And each line represents a different task that I want to get done with a tiny little icon. These are things like changing the bedding or paying specific bills. And those sorts of things. And at the bottom, that section that you're seeing me set up right now is for my weekly or bi-weekly tasks. And I had to split that up into 2 different parts because they didn't fit into one row next to each other. So that's also why I had to add those icons 2 times, so it still represents the same task that I want to do. And on the top, I just added the numbers of the week. As I already said, this is something that I really enjoy using. It's helping me to keep track of the things that I don't want to add to my daily list every single time. And, you know, it's a nice overview to see what I had to get done at a specific time and when I did it last. And then I just used a very light grey Tombow pen to differentiate between the different months. So, yeah, you don't lose track of all the different boxes and you actually have some sort of structure to them. And it also looks, I think it looks pretty cool. I added a border again, and then it was time for my next spread, or well, next page, which is my goals page. This one stays empty. It's only the title on the top, which says 2022 goals. It's February. Actually, by the time of posting this, it will be probably close to the end of February and close to March, but it's still empty. So last year I was so focused and I had so many ideas right off at the start of the year. This year, not so much. I do have certain things in mind that I want to get done this year, and who knows, I hope I will fill it out pretty soon-ish. Next up, I set up a spread that I'm pretty proud of. I've got the idea for this Dutch door spread from Amanda Rach Lee. I think she used this for her future log, if I'm not mistaken. And this way I could use 4 pages with only one purpose. So I only had to write out the title once. That applies to all of those 4 pages. And I call this spread my new discoveries spread. That was an idea that I've only recently had, and it's where I keep track of all the media that I consume in a year. I think many people call it their media spread, or I don't even know what other people call it, but I just called it my new discoveries. As I mentioned, I've been keeping a diary for years, so I actually keep journals for that very purpose, to have a place where I can put all of my memories. So I don't keep track of the things that I would like to consume at some point in the future. That's something that I do via Goodreads or on my phone somewhere on Google Keep. But in my journal, that's a place where I actually add in all the things that I did consume this year. So at the end of 2022, I can look back at those spreads and see all of the films that I watched for the first time, or all the series that I watched, or all the books that I actually read. So it's not full of things that I would like to do at some point and that I would have to transfer to a new journal, but it's just a place where I keep track of all the things that I actually discovered. So yeah, I think that name is pretty cool and I'm kind of proud of the idea. So I'm having different sections for each films, for TV series, for books and for music. I'm already filling it in. I've already watched 2 or 3 films and read a book, 1.5-ish. I'm a very slow reader, so I don't really read that much, but I also only read books and don't listen to audiobooks. Last year I read 21 books and that was quite the challenge for me, but I enjoyed it very much. But this year I decided to, keep things a little more relaxed, especially when it comes to reading. So I added a border to all of these again. I used my Tombow dual brush pen, the pink one again, and I used both of the tip side and the brush side for this. I did this for all the borders in this video just so that there's some variation. And at the end of setting this up, I did a similar thing as I did for my monthly and weekly tasks spread, where I just highlighted every second line so that as you're filling in the tracker, you don't lose track of the line that you're on. And quite generally, I think it looks pretty it looks pretty. This is what it looks like when it's a little closer. I felt like the headers for films and TV series and books were a little hard to read from further away, but now you can see them in all their beauty. As I said, I've kept everything fairly simple for this setup. Last but not least, I am setting up my highlights page. This is a page that I also keep very empty because I want to have lots of space where I can add all of the highlights that have happened, will have happened in 2022. So most of the time I will just sketch in some of the things that I want to remember in pencil as they happen. And that is where I paused the video because I would have loved for me to stop right there because it looked great as it was, but I, for some reason, decided to add my ballpoint pen to this, and I think it's too dark. It just doesn't fit the rest of the setup all too well. But you know, alas, mistakes were made. What's this one to do? It still looks kind of cute, but that's what bullet journaling is all about. You just turn the page, forget about it. Do better next time, hopefully. So, that's it for my first ever YouTube video and my first bullet journal setup that I actually filmed. Here's my final flip through, as it's so famously called. I hope that you enjoyed the video, even though my voiceover and my filming setup were all over the place, but you know, it's only February, there's still time to set up a new journal if you so desire. And yeah, I hope you liked it. Please like the video if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you want to be there for the next video. I hope to see you there. Bye bye.